Well, hello there. So I was just playing Hogwarts Legacy on my Steam machine, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about in my, next video. And I was wondering, how possible is it to create a new video before Phoronix publishes the same thing, in the text form? Let's find out. So if you go to this part here, this is the topic that has been going on for many, many years. And this is a topic that I'm really, really interested in, because I started my big Linux gaming with Radeon cards, and generally they are a better experience, but that's not what this topic is about. This topic is about the unavailability of the HDMI 2.1 on Radeon cards on Linux. And if you are into this topic, you know what this is about. If you're not into this topic, then I'm just going to summarize it into the fact that HDMI Forum, a legal body behind HDMI, doesn't allow AMD to use HDMI 2.1 in the combination with open source drivers. So AMD can give us HDMI 2.1 if they close their drivers completely and completely hide the part which deals with HDMI, right? But if they leave it as open source as it is right now, then HDMI Forum doesn't legally allow them to put high-speed HDMI into the driver, and that's why we are stuck with HDMI 2.0. So let me just go back a little bit more to explain what the HDMI 2.0 is, what the limit is, right? The simplicity of, how would I put it, the limit is 18 gigabits per second. That's the raw speed that you get with HDMI 2.0. And in general, you can play at 4K, 60 FPS, all the colors, the variable refresh rate. I mean, in the Radeon, it's FreeSync, right? Not VRR, but the technology is the same thing. And the HDR, you can get HDR as well. Everything works, but you cannot go over the 60 FPS rate. And if you have if you're using HDMI, chances are that you're using a 4K TV, because anyone who uses a monitor, most likely you are on DisplayPort. Correct? Am I correct? I think I am. So the reason why people want HDMI 2.1 is to utilize their 4K 120 TVs, and this is something that I have as well. This is my main screen that I work with. So it's not just about video games. I mean, I can play video games at 60 FPS, but even the desktop feels a lot more fluid with 120 FPS. Believe me, 120, I mean hertz. You know, when you move the mouse, it's a lot smoother and direct, and it's just the fact that I paid for 120 hertz TV and I paid for 120 hertz graphics card, and then someone like HDMI Forum comes along and tells me that I legally cannot use what I paid for? Seriously? I mean, the reason why we all love Linux is because we do not want to be burdened with such stupid limitations. You know, we paid for faster hardware and we're not allowed to use it. And of course, someone is going to reverse engineer this shit. So here we have, I think I'm on the wrong page here for a moment. Let me refresh. So here goes. Michael Kopech, if I read that correctly, I just published my implementation of HDMI FRL. This is fixed rate link for AMD GPU. testers appreciated. I have only been able to verify my 9070 XT to work. I'm looking for testers with DCN 3.1 and DCN 3.6 GPUs to confirm if it also works there. So basically what he's looking for is testers with Radeon 7000 GPUs and later. Radeon 6000 are not included here. And let me go to this page here that he linked on the Reddit here. I have successfully managed to implement HDMI FRL in AMD GPU, enabling, I have read already this, FRL training works. So this is fixed rate link. Just to simplify it, the older HDMI 2.0 works in very vastly different way than the HDMI 2.1. If I could simplify it for you viewers as much as I can, let's say that HDMI up to 2.0 is more similar with DVI and older technologies, not exactly the same, but more similar to older digital standards, while HDMI 2.1 is not just 0.1 upgrade. It's actually a whole new way of communication and a lot more similar to how DisplayPort works. If you want to compare it with something that might be more approachable to you, maybe you could compare it to how PCI Express works. As I said, it's not the same, but it has lanes, right? And you can count these lanes, add them up together, and basically, if you want full 4K 120 with HDR, with all the colors, with the everything, with everything, you need at least 40 gigabits per second for everything to work correctly. Basically, you could always play video games at 4K 120 with HDMI 2.0 at 18 gigabits per second. You could have already done that for a long time, and I did that years ago. But the problem is when you do that, then your chroma subsampling falls from 4 by 4 by 4 to 4 by 2 by 0. And if I can translate this to a common language, colors looks a little bit odd. And in some games you will not notice, in some games you will notice it more. On the fonts it's noticeable a lot. So when you go out of your video game and back to the desktop, then a lot of fonts look really, really terrible, and especially red color is borderline unreadable in that mode. So what I used to do is I would switch to 120 hertz while I was playing a very fast-paced video game, I would just ignore the fact that colors are a little bit off, because it was a compromise, right? And when I would go back to the desktop, I would just switch back to 60 hertz so that colors are proper, right? So it says FRL training works, video and audio work, HDR works, VRR does not. It's just a matter of setting info packets. I'll fix it soon. So this is something that a lot of people are working on with HDMI on multiple fronts. But suffice to say, maybe he didn't really mean VRR, maybe he meant FreeSync. I'm not sure, because FreeSync actually works already on HDMI 2.0 for me, but maybe VRR is actually what is required on HDMI 2.1. So I'm gonna leave this part to him. Hot plug works, DPMS works, dynamic selection of the required FRL rate for a given mode is implemented. Only DCN 4, which is the latest model of the graphics card, has been tested. All other GPUs should work similarly, but these parts are completely untested and he is requiring some testers. And one other thing, DCN 3.0, as I said, this is my graphics card, is completely not implemented yet, so he doesn't even require testers for that. Otherwise, I would volunteer. Basically, when he comes to this point, I am going to volunteer because I want this working on my systems. There are some weirdness and stuff like that. So you can go to his GitHub and download his kernel and test it all you want. I'm going to leave all these links below this video, but basically what's going on here is that we have came to a huge milestone where the community has basically said, HDMI Forum, when enough time has given, to the community has had it. We have had it enough. It's not like I have done anything to help this happen, except maybe just a little bit of influencing. Guilty on that part, but kudos to Mr. Kopec for bringing us to this milestone. And I am absolutely sure that folks at Valve are now celebrating this huge milestone, because if you have read the specifications about the latest Steam machine, they are claiming, Valve is claiming that Steam machine has HDMI 2.0. Technically, this is false. The hardware has HDMI 2.1. It's just that they are unable to legally certify their machine for HDMI 2.1. But if by the efforts of Mr. Kopec, Valve is going to also be able to push the limits to 48 gigabytes without being certified, I don't care. I don't think anyone is going to care about legal certification as far as the device works, to the full bandwidth. So I think this is huge news, really. And thank you very much to the guy who worked on this, and thank you very much to every single one person who participated in that thread on the Free Desktop Org forum. There has been like thousands of messages. I have been monitoring them almost pretty much every day, because I'm subscribed to that thread. I have been receiving one email per every single message that has been arriving so far. Thank you very much, everyone who was involved. I'm gonna see you in the next milestone.